All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we ended up getting the patch notes for Remnant 2 on the 3rd, and let's go over these patch notes real quick. So, the following updates did come out on October 3rd. The patch note for Remnant 2 did make some performance fixes and crashes and some general all-around changes that the community would like to see. So, we're going to read over it. So, in the patch notes, performance and crashes fix an issue where the game using Bulwark and Shield could potentially crash the game. Fix an issue where players could crash while using inventory. Fix an issue where players could potentially crash when joining a game from the World Stone. I myself have never... I didn't witness any of these crashes here. Maybe those are PC fixes or something like that. But let's get into the good stuff. General prisms. So, lowered the minimum prism clearance cleanse level from 51 to 10, right? So words are hard. Fixing the cleanse level from 51 to 10, big change. A lot of people in the community was really looking forward to the prism cleanse, and seeing that happen in the community itself is a big win for the community. 51 was quite steep to get all the way up to max level, and then see your legendary trade at the end. It could have been the one that you wanted, but you have a crap prism, so you had to flush it anyway. So starting over from 10, not too bad, right? The dev note says that we have more adjustments coming to the prism system, including the ability to cleanse only the legendary fragment, as well as some balance changes. These changes will be included in the future patch. So I'm thinking, let's say we'll take some different sides of the road here. The ability to cleanse only the legendary fragment. Only the legendary fragment. So, are we going to be Simulacrum with the cleanse? Reduce the level and cleanse altogether. Go back down to 50. Re-level it back up to 51. I doubt that they're going to do a constant reroll. Even if they did Simulacrum. Simulacrum seems to be easy to come across, I guess, in the PC version, because I am not receiving Simulacrum like that. I have only a handful of weapons with some Simulacrum, and that's only from running Yesha and going to a specific area with the I don't know what that boss is called, the Ravenous Beast. On the bridge where you get that little Simulacrum from. That's only reason because I got some of those. I've yet to receive Simulacrum from Boss Rush. I've done Apocalypse Mode, Boss Rush, and I have not received the Simulacrum yet. They did fix another change here we're going to get into. Fix an issue on Boss Rush where clients would see defeated messages not receive XP for Boss Rush. I thought that was an intended thing. If you did not secure the bag, then you weren't getting XP. So I kind of thought that's how that worked. So whatever. If you were supposed to get XP for it, I guess you're supposed to get XP for it. This should see bosses be slightly more challenging early on, less challenging in the end for the long run, especially Gauntlet. Now, I'm thinking a lot of people are going into the lower difficulty of Boss Rush, grinding that out, trying to get their Prism up. I have not done that yet, as I think that the Prism system should be a slow thing. It's kind of something that's happening in the background, because you don't need the prism, even with all the changes and the prism coming into the game. Even if you just equip the 3 fragments on the prism and used it as is, it'd be the same as you using the old relic system. So increase XP gain from veteran, nightmare, apocalypse from 5%, 10%, 15% to 10%, 25, 50%. This is a big welcome change for the prism. I suppose it does give you more agency over playing in the Apocalypse one if you have a good enough build. And something with that, I do feel that Apocalypse mode is harder. To me, Apocalypse mode was a bit of a joke. I know. Say what you want in the comment section about that, but I did think Apocalypse mode was basically where all players should be at by now, just running Apocalypse mode. I do feel like they did a scrap nerf. I wasn't getting as much scrap on Naruto, but I don't know if that's a new Naruto issue, because on old Naruto I still get quite a bit of scrap on the boss rush mode for, not boss rush mode, but just playing on old Naruto. So I don't know, maybe they can look into that. Maybe that's a known issue. Who knows? Fix an issue where Scholar, Sage Stone, and Mudtooth's Elixir was not affecting XP gains in boss rush. Excuse me, I am a little under the weather, so you find me trying to clear my throat a lot while I'm reading this. Fix an issue where it was still possible to receive items players already possessed as boss rush mode rewards. Now, I did encounter this a few times, and it was very annoying to receive 250 scrap after just completing 3 waves of boss rush mode in order to go back to Ward 13 to replenish my stock and see what new shiny item I got, and then receive 250 scrap for that. That wasn't good at all. The chance was previously very low, but we removed the potential to receive duplicate items from the reward table completely. Very low, but if you have most of the items in the game, I mean, I guess the chance could be pretty high, because I did receive 250 scrap quite often from doing this. So, I mean, if I do end up having every item in the game and getting 250 scrap for doing it, so whatever, maybe increase that to 500 like you do with the trait point books. I mean, I'm playing boss rush mode here, and I want scrap. It'd be nice to get more scrap at the end. Fix an issue where Vortex could potentially pull bosses, player summons, and Very Good Boy in boss rush. I don't even know what Vortex is. Is that something on the Star Killer? I thought that was a black hole. Vortex, what is fire, tornado, sandstorm? I don't know. I don't know what this is. If it was supposed to be intentional, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Fiction issue where players could get into a state where Dwayne would not complete numbing agent recipe. Dwayne was just trying to keep that delicious recipe to himself. There's a lot of things going on with Dwayne, and he got some new items in the game. A new amulet, a new recipe. So, fix an issue where it was possible not to receive alloy extractor from Spark when accepting her quest. Okay, glad they fixed that. Fix an issue where players weren't able to load a profile with DLC 3 content after removing entitlements to the DLC. I don't know why anyone removed the entitlements to the DLC. And like, what would people buying the game and then playing the game and then refunding their money or something for it? Or I don't know. So we got some player buffs and nerfs with the Warden. Well, with the archetypes, not just the Warden. So fix an issue where the Warden trait barrier was not unlocking account wide at level 10. Now, if you're still experiencing this bug, I heard unequipping it and re-equipping the Warden will grant you access to that barrier trait. So, I mean, if that's just unequipping and equip it again, you should be fine. Fix an issue where Vulcan Cannon was not allowing wind up when dodging. I think the Vulcan Cannon is the final perk for the engineer. I don't use the Vulcan Cannon too much. I don't remember their names too much. Let me say that. So I just know the one that shoots out the big pulse, the one that shoots out fire, and the one that shoots out bullets. So if the Vulcan Cannon is that one, then cool. I usually melee with it a lot. Fix an issue where overclock wasn't resetting at the World Stone. Never encountered that. Fix an issue where heavy weapon Vulcan was firing shots at a slow, constant rate dealing less DPS per second. I did experience that one. I thought it was a bit weird that I'm going to assume the Vulcan cannon is the big pulse. It was going a bit slow, so I always had it in overclock mode, and I put the engineer on as the main class because that's how you only overclock it. And I only felt like it was doing good in the overclock mode. But if they did fix that, then Vulcan Cannon is back. I do like that. It is one of the higher DPS weapons that you kind of just get for free picking that thing up. All right, so Archon, reduce Havoc form lightning hands damage, reduce lightning dash AoE damage. I think this is I think it's the third nerf to the Archon. The Archon stays being powerful. So if you don't have the Archon, worth getting because they keep nerfing it, is doing good work here. I I can never really find a place for it in my builds. Maybe I just like Summoner too much. Don't know. But maybe I'll give the Archon more of a chance. I felt like that the Tickle Fingers thing was kind of a gimmick. I come from Destiny. Tickle Fingers ain't too popular from over there. Um, in Remnant 2, when I did use it, I did feel real squishy. Like I had to invest too much into my defense in order to stay on the offensive with it. And I know there's some builds out there, but I only play in APOC mode, and Tickle Fingers just really doesn't do it for most bosses. You can get away with it on some of the bosses, but most of them are floating, out of reach, far away. That means if I'm using the Tickle Fingers, if I'm using Archon with the lightning hands, I'm really tying one of my hands behind my back, having that as like a thing versus using the pool that you put down, or the dome that you can put down. I want to say it's a red pool, then there's a dome, and then there's the lightning hands. Like lightning dashing, what were people just dashing back and forth across the area doing damage? Again, I'm not an Archon user, so I don't really. If it was doing that good, I just ain't seen a lot of builds on it. So maybe people were keeping it to themselves, keeping it hush hush. Um, Invoker reverted the line of sight change with Way of Kaula, Miasma, and Eruption. Big change, good change. I don't feel like it needed line of sight. I think they did the same with the Ritualist. They changed that Miasma and Eruption. I think that so Invoker and Ritualist I think got touched here. I want to say Miasma is the second perk for the Ritualist, and Eruption must be the first perk of the Ritualist. I'm gonna guess because I want to say Spirit Gloom is the second perk for the Invoker. So while this behavior can still cause certain unintended issues, the addition to the LOS check, line of sight check, had too much of an impact on the fun factor of these skills. We will look to address any balance issues that pop up from this change in a future patch. So when they did have this original change for the line of sight, the smallest things would block the damage in that area, and some enemies will hide behind that one little pole and not take the damage, and then they'll pop out from behind that little pole, and you've wasted an entire skill because it wasn't in the line of sight because the pole was there. It wasn't good. I want to assume that the Invoker play rate, if looking at their stats, probably fell off quite a bit. I didn't play it. I used it, but I don't play Invoker like that. If that little change, if they want a line of sight, I feel like that would mess me up in the maze when you're in the Loathsome territory where you're around the garden and you're going through and you know there's enemies hiding behind the corner. You've probably done it 1,000 times. You just shoot out a big wave from Wave of Kaula and you just start getting those enemies gone out the way. It's good for that area. So gear and items. So fixing issue where mod generation was not working correctly. I did feel that one. I thought that they had nerfed mod generation a big way. Like they didn't want us to feel too powerful with the Prism and all the mod generation. So glad they fixed that. Glad that was a bug that they fixed. Fixing issue where monorail wind-up charge was not increasing damage properly. I still don't think that I can get the monorail to work with a subsequent shot. I don't think subsequent shot works with the monorail, but I'll test it and see. I won't test it in this video, but I want to test it and see if it does work. Now uses ball scaling, but damage was reduced so that at max level, the primary fire still does the same damage as before. It's still good. It's still a good gun. It's an easy get gun. It's a good send off to the Remnant community for that. I do wish that you could get an alternate version of this gun in like a gun blade. So if you know where gun blades come from and where I'm going with this, that would be pretty cool for a melee, right? If you had the option to like alter it. Reduce Mega Drive damage scaling on return bolts. Now, the Mega Drive damage scaling on the return, but I want to say it's the bolts that when you use the skill, they get a little thingy over their head, you shoot the enemy, it's like a little purple bobble, and then the arrows go up and then they come back down. Reducing the damage on that, I don't feel was necessary. If I think the bolt should have did more damage, given the fact that you got to invest so much in the Genesis bow. You got to reduce the charge time. You have to increase your damage. You have to land your shots. You have to get the mod energy up. You're focused on one target. You can alternate targets, but you got to push the button to alternate the targets. It's not an easy win button. It's not as easy to use as the one that's poison that goes and follows everybody. It's not as easy as that. So I think they should have increased the damage scaling on the return bolts. You only get a few of them anyway. It's not like a lot of bolts. But maybe more people are playing on veteran. Who knows? Fixing issue where void light was not functioning properly with certain projectiles. So I did see this one. Void light wasn't working properly with the Star Killer. On my buddy's screen when we shot the Star Killer, he could still see the big black hole effect, the explosion. But on my screen, when I shot the void light absorbed the black hole, but I still got hit by the impact of the black hole, like it popped out of the void. So maybe that's another thing they can look into. I don't know if it was supposed to do that. Maybe it was, but I feel like it should have ate all that damage. Fix an issue where void light was not correctly accumulating with certain damage types. Again, was Star Killer. Fix an issue where Black Great Sword attacks counting as charged attacks. Now that will mess up some things. If they came out with a mutator that did that, not bad. You'd create more builds that way if you had a mutator that kind of did that. But then, oh no, maybe that'll be counterintuitive because I mean you're putting on a mutator to want to use a mutator that deals with charged attacks. So I just kind of shot myself in the foot with that one. Yeah, this is good. You got to charge up the sword. Some of the best attacks with the Black Great Sword are the charged attacks, so you're going to be using them anyway. All right, so this allows Weapon Lord Mutator to properly function with the sword. Trinkets, Mutators, Relics. Fix an issue where the same character affixes were able to be applied more than once. I don't know what that means. Increase hard core metal band stacks from 2 to 3 as intended in the last patch. So if you were a fan of using the ring that makes you bleed, I want to say it's the Ring of Atonement. I think it's Ring of Atonement, and then you put it with hardcore metal band, then you would get 3 stacks of bulwark. That was kind of like the build to be with the ritualist. It was kind of like bread and butter for the ritualist. You put on the Ring of Atonement, then you put on the hardcore metal band. So you had your DR, you had your bleed, and then it kind of works with some of the newer amulets and stuff that they have where when you try to cleanse yourself of something, it applies to the enemies around you. So I want to say that innately the ritualist has that. When you cleanse yourself, the enemies around you get affected with the same thing. So 3 stacks of bulwark is better than 2 stacks of bulwark. All right, updated the text on Dual Steel Ring to better represent the effect. I haven't looked at what the text says for the Dual Steel Ring, but I want to say the Dual Steel Ring was the one for unarmed melee. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section below. I don't have the game up to be referencing this, going all off of memory here, but I want to say that's the one for the unarmed melee. The Dual Steel Ring does work with certain melee weapons, so it'd be interesting to see what the Dual Steel Ring does now. Fixing issue where that it was enabling burden. Fixing issue that was enabling burden of the Mason to grant full benefits from 0 hour and gold signet while at medium armor, weight, encumbrance. So some ring fixes that are affecting amulets, I guess. Fixing issue that allowed hypercharges to benefit all melee damage instead of charge only. Okay. Fixing enemies where sentinel drones will sometimes get stuck in the cliffs in the DLC. I'm not having an issue with Sentinel drones. I'm having an issue with ghosts. There's a lot of ghosts being stuck in the ground and in the ceiling and in the wall, or going off somewhere else and finding an enemy that is 200 meters away, and then it kind of messes up my run. So the ghosts are the issue too. Fix an issue where the number of shrines activated was displaying as 0 in boss rush in detailed info panel, whatever. Fix an issue where the screen will go black in spectator mode. Okay. They need to fix the issue where the map goes black when you are in a team of 2 people, right? You join somebody and your map is black, and then you got to wait, I don't know, till you die or something. I don't know. The second player who joins that person's world can't see the map. They need to fix that. That's annoying. Fix an issue where Ritualist skill Death Wish was not displaying duration on the tooltip. Fix an issue where Barbarous had visible markup language in one of his lines. Fix an issue where Warden Archetype on character selection screen was not displaying descriptive text. Fix an issue where navigation was sometimes broken the first time loading into the DLC campaign. Fix an issue where player could... I did vault out of the world in the gas chamber level. It was weird. I was falling for a very long time. Thought it was some secret thing happening. Didn't know it was a bug. Fix an issue where audio for the drone summon. I don't really play with the volume too high, so that didn't bother me, but I can understand how that gets annoying. There's an issue right now where if you kill an enemy that does waves, the little wave mechanic, they have the cubes, then they have waves, clone, the special stuff. If they have waves and they die and the wave retracts back into their body, it creates a weird audio cue that continues to ring in the screen. I don't know if you guys have dealt with that, but that is very annoying. You have to really get out the area to get away from that ringing noise. Fix an issue where players could reacquire black metal bars from Barus if previous ones were turned into Ava McKay, but sword was not yet collected. Fix an issue where players could return to destroy Narud after defeating Shahala by way of DLC 3 Lungeon. I mean, why would you? That'd be a nifty little trick to return to a different time of Narud after it's destroyed, but like you meet the entity like Atalepsis Torah, but not in the way that we're meeting them now, but like when they go for the second journey, like spoiler alert, when they go to the second journey, and that's how you get the Void Heart, that you encounter the entity there or something. That would have been cool. You know, you're on 2 different timelines. I don't know. Do something in adventure mode. See them. I don't know. Food for thought. Fix an issue where sometimes Mudtooth's DLC 1 dialogue would continue trigger. Yes, that's when he's talking about the dreams. I'm guessing that's what they're talking about because he talks about that all the time. So, fix various locations where players could glide out of the world. Yeah, okay. Fix an issue where textures in the environment. Okay, so they fixed a lot of good stuff here. The big thing here was the Prism changes to cleansing at level 10. A lot of bug fixes, glitching out of the world. That's kind of annoying, especially if you try to jump off the map, to jump into the purple stuff to kill yourself, to reset yourself without drinking the liquid, whatever. That would get annoying. You just clip through the world and continue to fall forever until you close the game or until the game decided that you were done falling. There's some interesting things to come later, but it seems like there was a lot of updates in this DLC, and the more immediate ones seem to have gotten fixed versus the slight touch-ups that I still think need to come. The Prism system is obviously a big deal to most of the community, and how it works and interacts and the way that you earn experience points while leveling it up and so on and so forth, and getting relic dust and mythic fragments is a whole thing. It's a whole thing where people are up in arms about with this. But again, if you were to just equip the 3 fragment pieces onto the Prism and not use the Prism, you're not the game isn't really changing too much for you there. If apocalypse mode did get harder, I mean that's quite interesting because again I thought it was a cakewalk, but that means I got to really get good to play apocalypse mode or knock it down to veteran in order to get my scrap up in order to just go through levels, level up things, and get additional scrap without having to bang my head against the wall. I wish there was a better alternative to collecting scrap. I think a lot of people ended up getting a whole lot of scrap when it came to cashing out that hand that had the little glitch bug there and getting a whole bunch of them and cashing them out. I did not get in on that. I found out about it secondhand later after they had patched it. But I really didn't think scrap was too big of an issue for me at the time. But now wanting to play with the Alpha Omega, lacking in Simulacrum, wanting to try different builds in Boss Rush, I feel like I need a lot more scrap. And them fixing the knockout system with the boss rush mode mechanic is going to allow a lot of people to catch up. I think that makes the entry level to boss rush way more user friendly, with being able to go in, knock out a few bosses, come out, get a little extra thing, maybe get that thing that you're looking for, knock out more of those niche instances when it comes to gathering things in the world, because not everyone wants to watch 1,000 YouTube videos on how to get a certain item from 18 different creators doing it 5 different ways and explaining it good and explaining it bad. So I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot of them out there. But let me know what you guys think about the changes that are happening, which ones that you're looking forward to in the future. Probably more with the Prism system, of course, and maybe even knocking down the boss rush like mode to get that last prism. I heard it's 500 kills. I don't know, maybe that's a bit much for the average player. But if it is 500 kills in boss rush, then I'm gonna get that prism. So like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.